Greetings and welcome to the May 19, 2026 School Employer Advisory Committee. As always, I'm your host, Brad Hanson, the Division Chief of our Employer Account Management Division. We got an action-packed agenda for you today, but before we dive into the good stuff, let's go ahead and do a little bit of housekeeping. I know we've all heard this numerous times, but it bears repeating. First of all, this webinar is being recorded and will be available later on the CalPERS website. All of your mics will be muted. However, that doesn't mean that later we can't unmute you if you have a question you want to ask live. All the materials will be available on the website, again, including this recording. If you need to email us any questions or have any future topics, please email us at the email you see on the screen, CalPERS_SEAC. And lastly, for any questions, please use the QA feature below, as you can see here in the graphic. Raise your hand and we'll do our best to get to your questions live. We only have so much time for today's SEAC meeting, so we might not be able to answer all the questions live. But if you ask questions to the QA, we have a team of top analysts behind the scenes that are feverishly answering your questions that will all be available to everybody. So, okay, that's our housekeeping for the day. Now let's go over the agenda. So the first thing we're going to cover today is legislation updates. Then we're going to move on to separations, education incentive, and then employment certification enhancement. We'll take a quick break for 10 minutes or so. And then we're going to end it with this last section of the employer toolkit, ensuring timely and accurate retirement benefits, compliance with 2-year additional service credit golden handshakes. And then yours truly is going to do a quick plug for the myCalPERS registration project. And then we'll open it up for the roundtable so we can answer any questions that may not have come up during the SEAC meeting. All right, so let's go ahead and get the ball rolling. I'm going to turn it over now to Andrea Peters, and she's going to give you a legislation update. Take it away, Andrea.
Thank you, Brad. Good morning again. My name is Andrea Peters, and I will be providing you today's legislative update. First, for us, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping. So in the chat box, there is going to be a link that will take attendees to the CalPERS bill list. This bill list is available online and updates real time. Here, you will be able to access some of the bills that we are currently reviewing, including the bills that I plan to discuss today. When you click on the link, it will take you to the CalPERS legislation website. Under the heading Current Legislation, there are two options, one titled State and the other titled Federal. Attendees will want to select the State option. The State link will direct attendees to a third-party website called Capital Track. This website provides a list of bills that CalPERS is actively monitoring. When the attendee clicks on a bill number, for example, AB 280, the attendee will be provided more information about the bill, such as a high-level summary of the bill, where the bill is in the legislative process, and what actions, if any, have been taken on the bill. This information is updated real time and is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, pending website maintenance or IT issues. I would recommend saving the link for future reference, and we will be sure to send out the link in an email following today's meeting. Today, I will be covering 5 bills: Assembly Bill 1383, Senate Bill 939, Senate Bill 1038, Senate Bill 1089, and Senate Bill 1444. Again, you can find the information about the link and the bills that we are covering today in the chat box. So let's begin. Assembly Bill 1383 is a 2-year bill, meaning it was introduced last year. So if it sounds so familiar, that is why. Assembly Bill 1383 includes several prospective changes to the Public Employees Pension Reform Act of 2013, otherwise known as PEPRA. First, for service earned on or after January 1st, 2027, this bill adjusts the pensionable compensation limit for all members, excluding members of CalSTRS, who are subject to PEPRA to the maximum amount of earnings subject to the Social Security tax on January 1st, 2027. It also changes the existing three PEPRA safety formulas from 2% at 57, 2.5% at 57, and 2.7% at 57 to 2% at 55, 2.5% at 55, and 2.7% at 55, respectively, for existing and new PEPRA members beginning January 1st, 2027. It also creates a fourth PEPRA safety formula at 3% at 55 with a 90% cap, and it allows an employer and its safety members to agree to terms in an MOU to move members to a higher safety formula. This bill was recently amended to make technical and clarifying changes to assist with implementation should it be signed into law. The CalPERS board has not taken a position on this bill. Assembly Bill 1383 is currently in the second House in the Senate Labor, Public Employment, and Retirement Committee. No hearing has been scheduled as of yet. Our next bill is a CalPERS-sponsored Senate Bill 939. This bill simplifies service credit payment options for new service credit purchases, tier conversions, and redeposits elected on or after January 1st of 2028. Instead, any unpaid balance at the time of retirement will need to be paid in full within 90 days, or the service credit will be prorated based on the balance paid. The CalPERS board sponsored this bill because it aligns CalPERS service credit purchase payment options with all other public retirement systems, and it will strengthen our financial policies by encouraging members to purchase service credit as early as possible to pay the lowest possible cost. It ensures that service credit is paid in full and pre-funded at the time of retirement, which in turn reduces cost pressures on CalPERS, and it reduces system complexity and costs. This bill is also in its second House in the Assembly Public Employment and Retirement Committee. Again, no hearing has been scheduled as of yet. Moving on to our next bill, Senate Bill 1038. This bill requires CalPERS to list on its website the employer that is subject to an audit and the purpose and scope of the intended audit prior to initiating an audit. It requires CalPERS to provide written notice to the affected employer of the purpose and scope of the audit and to provide the employer with a copy of the final audit report. In turn, it requires the affected employer to forward the CalPERS audit notification to the exclusive representative, if any, of members that may be affected and to communicate to CalPERS that they have provided the notice. It also requires employers to provide CalPERS and the exclusive representative a list of the names of any members affected by the final audit, and to communicate to CalPERS that they have provided the final audit report to the exclusive representative. As currently drafted, this bill codifies existing CalPERS audit processes within the Public Employees Retirement Law, also known as the PEARL. The provisions to post certain audit information on the CalPERS website and for CalPERS to receive employer communication that employers have provided the CalPERS audit notification and final audit report to the exclusive representative are new. The CalPERS board has not taken a position on this bill. This bill is also in its second House in the Assembly Public Employment and Retirement Committee, and again, no hearing has been scheduled as of yet. Our next bill is Senate Bill 1089. Beginning on January 1st, 2028, and until January 1st, 2032, it would require a health benefit plan or contract that contracts with CalPERS to offer coverage for chronic weight disease management or to treat obesity or overweight persons, including nutritional information and at least one FDA-approved GLP-1 anti-obesity medication. While the CalPERS board has not taken a position on this bill, CalPERS has raised concerns that mandating the coverage of a GLP-1 will increase CalPERS premiums by $200 to $400 million in year one alone. LAD will be bringing this bill to the CalPERS board in June. SB 1089 is currently on the first House floor. The legislature has until May 29th to pass this bill off of the floor. Our final bill is Senate Bill 1444. This bill is an omnibus bill, meaning that there are many different provisions impacting various state departments and agencies within the bill. The provision that I would like to bring to your attention extends the time frame when a member makes an election, revocation, or change of election for a retirement payment option or a change in retirement status from within 30 calendar days to within 60 calendar days from the date that the first retirement check is issued. The CalPERS board has not taken a position on this bill. This bill is in its second house and has not yet been assigned to a committee. Therefore, no hearing has been scheduled as of yet. So with that, this concludes my presentation, and it looks like I have time for some questions if we have any.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like I'm seeing any, Brad.
Nope. And again, if you have any questions that come up, you guys can always hit us up on the chat, and I'm sure Andrea will be glad to answer those later. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All righty. Okay, thanks for that update. Moving right along, we have a new presenter to the SEAC, Aiden Brown, and he's going to talk to you guys about separations. Go ahead and take it away, Aiden.
Hi, my name's Aiden Brown, and I'm with the post-retirement analysis team, and I'm going to be going over separations today. Next slide, please. For permanent separation dates, these should be entered as the day following the employee's last day worked or the day after the last day on payroll. The separation date must be reported for all employees who end employment. We want to make sure the correct separation date is entered in a timely manner so that there isn't any confusion about where or when a member was employed. Next slide, please. For retired annuitant separations, this is an upcoming system enhancement slated for August 2026. If a retired annuitant employment has missing payroll or zero payroll reported for 12 consecutive months, myCalPERS will automatically enter a separation date. myCalPERS will send a warning notification separation at 9 months. The employer will receive a letter stating the RA's name and CID, notifying them that there hasn't been any payroll reported for that RA for 9 months. And after 12 months, they'll be automatically separated. If the RA has not been working, we recommend separating them and not waiting for the automatic separation date. You can make the separation date after the last day worked or the last day or the day after the last day on payroll. This notification also gives a chance for the employer to report hours if the RA had been working and they had failed to report them. The notification confirming separation will be sent to both the member and the employer after 12 months. The purpose of this enhancement is to prevent RA appointments from being left open indefinitely. This enhancement already exists for regular members and is now being added to retired annuitant appointments. Separating an RA appointment after Separating an appointment after no payroll reporting for 12 months prevents ambiguity when we review an RA appointment. If an RA appointment is in violation, the violation period can be based on their entire appointment, so not separating an RA can lead to them to receive a longer violation than if they are separated. Many times when we see an RA have zero payroll for long periods, it is because the RA has stopped working, but the employer leaves the appointment open. So if they need the RA in the future, they don't have to create a new appointment. While this may be convenient for the employer, it can cause limited duration issues. If an RA stops working, separate their appointment. If you need them in the future, create a new appointment. Next slide, please. Missing separation dates after retirement. If a member retires with a non-separated appointment, myCalPERS will generate a notification to both the retiree and employer. The first notification will be 2 months after retirement. A notification is sent advising of the missing separation date, potential suspension of benefits. It is important to report separation dates when a member retires so they can collect their pension without issue. It is the employer's responsibility to enter this information. We want to make sure our retirees can enjoy their retirement. The second and final notification will be 4 months after retirement. A final notification is issued advising benefits will be suspended until the separation date is reported in myCalPERS. Once the separation date is reported, the benefits will be resumed. Next slide, please. Separation dates after retirement. If the member's separation date recorded in myCalPERS falls after the retirement date, adjustments to the retiree's retirement benefit may be required. A notification is sent to the employer confirming the reported separation date. The notification is sent to make sure the reported separation isn't an error It allows the employer time to fix it if there has been an error. So this won't create any issues for the retiree. If the employer confirms the separation date falls after the retirement date will be adjusted accordingly, and any overpayment will be collected on the next warrant. The separation date is after the retirement date. That means the retirement date is incorrect because the member is still employed. The overpayment to be collected will be from the first retirement date to the second retirement date. Next slide, please. If there are any questions, we have members in the Q&A chat to answer them. Thank you.
Looks like we don't have any questions right now. Thanks for that, Aiden.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, next up, a speaker that needs no introduction, the always engaging and knowledgeable Kenneth Noss. Ken, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson. I appreciate that. My name is Ken Noss. For those of you that don't know me, I am the manager of the Audit Compliance and Resolution section in the Employer Account Management Division at CalPERS. And today I wanted to talk to you guys about educational pay and some common issues that we're seeing, provide some tools for compliance, and just relay some overall information that I think some school employers may not be aware of. Next slide, please. So some of our objectives today are to educate on proper reporting of educational pay types. We're going to highlight differences between two types in particular that we're going to start getting into. They are written down there just to give you a little preview. And then we're going to provide some tools to ensure compliance with CalPERS statutes and regulations. So let's get into the excitement. Next slide, please. Okay. What a lot of people don't realize is that California Code of Regulations 571 for Classic members and 571.1 for Pepper members has, they're actually broken up into 5 and 4 categories respectively. One of those categories in both regulations is called educational pay. And there's actually 16 different types of educational pay. A lot of employers default to educational incentive pay. And then anything that could fall under some of those other categories, in particular, undergraduate, graduate, doctoral credit, tends to get reported as educational incentive pay. This ends up creating compliance issues. Many times it's just they're being reported in what we would call the wrong buckets when they're being reported to CalPERS. But sometimes it also leads to incorrect language and conditions of payment. So what is undergraduate, graduate, doctoral credit? It's compensation for employees required to obtain a specified degree for their job. For an example, an assistant superintendent is required to hold a master's degree. Educational incentive pay, on the other hand, is compensation for completing courses, certificates, or degrees that enhance job performance. So it's not a requirement of the job. It's specifically to enhance the job performance. So an example, a school office manager earning a certificate in office administration. So these are two very different compensation types that are commonly reported and collectively bargained for with our school employers. Next slide, please. Okay, some of the key compliance requirements just overall for special and pensionable compensation outside of pay rate, is they have to meet the California Code of Regulations, so CCR section 571 and 571.1. Again, 571 is classic members, 571.1 is for PEPRA members. The definitions that are actually listed out for those compensation types. It has to be supported in a written labor policy or agreement or a publicly available pay schedule. And it has to have very clear conditions of payment. And we're going to get a little bit more into that because that's one of the other roadblocks we really see for compliance on both of these items. Next slide, please. Okay, so going into tools, this is something that I've been going over quite a bit with some of the county offices of education that I've been fortunate enough to do presentations for. And we've been coming up with these compliance checklists to kind of help you guys through your process because we know it can be complex and complicated. So we're going to start with our special and pensionable compensation checklist. We're actually going to go through 3 checklists fairly quick because this isn't really the crux of the presentation. But all 3 of these checklists for special and pensionable compensation, they all lead into each other for compliance and compliant reporting to CalPERS. So for your special and pensionable compensation checklist. It's specific. It's for compensation outside of normal pay rate. It's available to all employees in the group or class. For classic employees, it must be contained in a written labor policy or agreement. For PEPRA, it must be contained in a written labor policy or agreement or a publicly available pay schedule. Next slide, please. It has to be for normally required duties during normal working hours. It's paid periodically as earned. That's where you commonly find the term from CalPERS report as earned. That's actually where that comes from, and that's in the regulation, both regulations. And then, of course, complies with the definitions in CCR 571 and 571.1, and conditions of payment, which is generally eligibility and amount that we're going to get into with some samples, some exciting samples a little bit later in this presentation, is very, very important for both of these compensation items. Next slide, please. So once you've got that figured out, you can get into your compliant written labor policy checklist. And this is the same, whether it's classic or PEPRA. It needs to be duly approved in a public meeting per applicable public meeting laws, in this case, the Brown Act. All compensation listed conforms to Pearl definitions, contains all conditions of payment, immediately available for public review, contains effective and revision dates. So that means if it's effective July 1st, 2026, but then it's revised on December 1st, 2026, both of those dates have to be in there because you still want it effective all the way back to that July date, but it was technically revised in December. So it's now a new or revised written labor policy or agreement. You have to identify all covered employees in the group or class. That's generally fairly easy for school employers because you have your collective bargaining agreements and your groups that are associated with that. It can't reference another document to identify compensation. So again, needs to be in the written labor policy or agreement. It can't say, oh, please reference our handbook or guide for more details or for the conditions of payment. It has to be retained for public inspection for no less than 5 years. Next slide, please. Which leads us into a new checklist that we've created recently, which is governing body approval checklist. We've had some issues with documents pertaining to compensation not going through the proper avenues. So you just need to make sure that per Brown Act, you have advanced public notice, so at least 72 hours in advance for regular meetings or 24 hours for special meetings. The meeting is open to the public. The pay schedule or written labor policy is discussed in open forum. The governing body took a formal vote to approve. Approved documents and meeting minutes retained for at least 5 years. Next slide, please. The documents are posted at the employer's office or website following approval, immediately accessible for public review during normal business hours. Public review also means CalPERS review, and immediately accessible means if we email or call, you provide it to us immediately. Any amendments go through Brown Act approval process, revisions reposted with updated revision date. Next slide, please. Okay, you guys will be able to access those checklists whenever you want. Those are great for a compensation compliance flow to help you go through. Now we're going to get into the nitty gritty with our educational pay requirements. So for educational incentive pay, which again is one of the 16 items, it has to enhance job performance. It has to be in the written labor policy or agreement. And as part of that, it has to clearly explain the eligibility requirements, the acceptable courses, the degrees, the certificates, whatever is being, whatever avenue is leading to that enhancement. It has to clearly explain, the what and the why, and then the how much. And then it cannot reference another document for additional provisions. Group or class of employment. This is very important. It has to be available to all employees in a valid group or class, and no additional eligibility requirements that exclude employees, such as all employees that have been with the district for a minimum of 6 years and have received a certificate in advanced education may receive 5% in addition to base pay. That component of being with the district for 6 years actually creates a group or class exclusion because educational incentive pay is specific to obtaining that certificate, degree, or completed courses to receive the educational incentive pay. Next slide, please. So some of the top errors for reporting educational pays include required education as an educational incentive pay item, reporting as a lump sum or misclassifying under the wrong category, which we're going to go into a little bit more, adding extra eligibility requirements, which I just gave you an example of that in the previous slide, and then non-compliant labor policies referencing other documents. which is why we provided all those checklists. Next slide, please. Recommendations for compliance, review and update your policies. So ensure that your special compensation, your pensionable compensation, and this is just overall, they meet the definitions in California Code of Regulations 571 and 571.1. Ensure that they're available to everybody in the group or class. Report educational pays separately and in the pay period they are earned. And then maintaining documentation is something that's very important for your educational pays. Your educational pays are going to be contingent on, it either being a requirement of the job or an enhancement to the job. But in both of those cases, you have to have some type of documentation that keeps track of the certificates, the coursework, the degrees that are required to receive that. If there is any type of audit or a review and we request the certificates or degrees, whatever's in the conditions of payment to back that up and it can't be provided, it may result in limiting or excluding that compensation for somebody's retirement. Next slide, please. So educational pays in action. So first we'll get into the undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral credit. A really good example, this would be a school administrator required to hold a master's degree, okay? Now, educational incentive pay, you'll see is very different. So in this example, I said, okay, a school custodian earning a certificate in HVAC, not a requirement of the job, but it definitely enhances that person's job performance if they have that additional education. So a school custodian earning a certificate in HVAC systems to enhance job performance. Next slide, please. And now we'll get into some of the examples of compliant language. And this is really important when I'm talking about the conditions of payment and meeting the requirements in California Code of Regulations 571 and 571.1. One of the common errors we see with educational pays with school employers is they'll have their educational pays on a publicly available pay schedule. It'll say something like master's degree, $1,500. That's it. Well, we have no way of knowing what that's for. There's no conditions of payment. There's no eligibility requirements. There's nothing that meets the definition in California Code of Regulations 571 and 571.1. Therefore, it will not be included in somebody's compensation and their final compensation calculation when they go to retire. Now, a really good example of undergraduate, graduate, doctoral credit, again, the definition, it's compensation for school employees required to obtain a specified degree for their job. Sample of compliant language, employees in the job classifications of are required to hold a bachelor's degree as a condition of employment. Employees who have attained a bachelor's degree as required for their job classification will receive additional compensation equal to 5% of their base pay. This compensation is paid every pay period and reported to CalPERS as earned. I just put the reported to CalPERS as earned as a little bonus. That's not actually a requirement. And then eligibility for this compensation is limited to employees in the specified job classifications where the degree is a requirement for employment. So you can see it literally checks off every single box as you're going through those checklists, other than getting into the governing body approval process. So it goes through everything, everything's contained there. Next slide, please. Now we'll get into educational incentive pay. Again, big difference between these two. Educational incentive pay is compensation for completing courses, certificates, and degrees that enhance job performance. Compliant language, administrative support staff employees are eligible for completing approved courses, certificates, or degrees that enhance their ability to perform their job duties. And then it lists eligible programs include office management certification, advanced computer training, business administration certificates and degrees. The employer will maintain a system to evaluate and approve acceptable courses, degrees, and certifications. Employees who complete approved program will receive additional compensation equal to 3% of their base pay. And then again, this was just a bonus for me. This compensation is paid every pay period and reported to CalPERS as earned. Again, you go through that checklist. It meets the requirement of the definition in California Code of Regulations 571 and 571.1. It's an enhancement to a job. It gives examples of the certificates, degrees, education that can be provided in order to be approved for or receive this compensation. It also states that there's going to be a system in place to evaluate and prove acceptable courses. And then it states that when the employees complete the approved programs, then they will receive the additional compensation. Next slide, please. All right, some of our educational incentive resources. We have our compliance and compensation reporting webpage, which is a wonderful resource for our employee and our employers for a multitude of issues or reasons. It's got a ton of great information on there. I always recommend that employers bookmark that and reference it often whenever they have compensation compliance questions or concerns. We also released circular letter 2000465 this year. That's specific to educational incentive pay. It's got great information in there and really gives a solid breakdown of CalPERS clarification on educational incentive pay. And then we have our audit compliance and resolution unit 1. Uh, Per a circular letter that just came out earlier this year, hyperlink there, you can actually do direct requests to our audit compliance and resolution unit 1. They work on compensation analysis and recommendations. You can now request that directly through myCalPERS as opposed to emailing mou_review@calpers.ca.gov. The request through the system walks you through all the requirements, everything that we need in order to start our review process. And then it actually enables you to interact through the system during that compensation and compliance process, including being able to reopen previous requests so you can keep everything together. It's a great resource. Next slide, please. All right, so now we've got educational incentive or educational pay questions. I don't see any hands up. Am I missing
No.
anything?
There was a few questions in the chat, but it seems like the team was able to answer them.
Wonderful.
Yep.
Okay, well then I guess I will exit stage left, sir.
And I will say, Ken, I noticed Ramona asked a few questions and they were all in caps. I hope she wasn't shouting at us.
If I was presenting, I can guarantee she was shouting.
No, she had a smiley face on the end of one, so
No,
she's
that
okay.
doesn't matter. That's just passive aggressive shouting. It's fine.
And I apologize, Ramona. I got to pick on you. Good
I'm being com
question.
I'm being completely serious, Ramona.
Oh, we do have a question from Sylvia Rodriguez.
Yes.
Oh, they're working on unmuting her still. It looks like.
Oh, okay.
Oh, she has to unmute herself now. So go ahead, Sylvia. You can unmute yourself.
There's too many muting things happening.
I know. Modern technology. God love it.
Yeah.
Did it not work?
No, she hit the wrong button.
Oh, she said, sorry, hit the wrong button.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
Okay.
No problemo.
All right.
Well, thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Yeah. Thanks, Ken. All right. So then our last speaker before the break is Natalie Spencer, and she's going to talk to us all about employment certification enhancements to the system. Go ahead, Natalie, take it away.
Thanks, Brad. I'm Natalie Spencer. I am the team leader for the membership review team in the Employer Account Management Division. And today I'm going to talk about our upcoming employment certification enhancements. Next slide. So our employment certification enhancement topics, we're going to be updating the employment certification page, which I'll share with you next. We're also planning on updating our student guide to coincide with the updates that we have on the certification page. And we're going to be looking at testing and getting volunteers. Next slide. This is our current view of the employment information panel. And oftentimes we get a lot of questions of what needs to be completed here. It's not clear per se in the student guide. Oftentimes we're sending back requests to have you fix them. And so what we want to do is we want to make this more user-friendly for you, the day in and day out users when your guys are completing the certifications. So what we're looking for is for you to provide us with feedback of what you would like to see on here and what information does pertain to you in the school systems, what information doesn't pertain to you, and what would make this easier for you to complete when completing our certifications for us. Next page. So we are seeking your feedback to optimize the employment of our certification page. looking for the improvements to our student guide. So we are looking for a few testers. If you're interested or you have ideas, we'd like for you to email us at membershipreporting@calpers.ca.gov by no later than June 19th. And get all that information together and then put it forward to our with our IT team to see what we can enhance and how we can make those enhancements for you. If you're selected to be a tester, we will let you know before and we go into the testing. Next slide. Is there any questions in regards to the employment certification enhancement?
There is one in the Q&A. Let's see if we've answered it yet. Here, I'll read it off to you, Natalie. Does the required compliant wording for... Oh, this one's an educational incentive question, actually. Looks like Serena's answering that one. Sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. Like I said, if you don't have any questions, you go ahead and email us anything that you would like to see on that certification. It's kind of your opportunity to give us your wish list.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. We're a little bit ahead of
Thank you.
schedule. But let's go ahead and take a break. Let's come back at 10, let's say 10:20. We'll give you 13-minute break. And then we'll come back and we'll kick it off with the employer toolkit. Thank you. See you then. And we're back. I love saying that. Anyhow, let's keep this train moving. We're going to turn it over to Thomas Hines, and he's going to talk to you guys about the employer toolkit. Take it away, Thomas.
Thanks, Brad. Salutations, everybody. My name is Tom Hines, and I'm an employer educator here in the Customer Education and Outreach Division. And my role is to teach myCalPERS functionality. So we're going to cover the toolkit this morning. Next slide, please. All right, so if you've ever taken a class with for myCalPERS or business rules or any sort of webinar with us, you've probably been on the employer education webpage. And what would happen previously is individuals would get to this page and they would feel a little lost, for lack of a better word. Not knowing where to start, right? At the top of the screen is talking about events coming up. Then we had the section for classes and webinars, and then we had meetings coming up. And the class and webinars just didn't really seem fit. So we heard your feedback. We had individuals asking, well, where do I start? What's my path for success here? So with that, we've created a new web page called Classes and Webinars for Employers. And I'm going to showcase that to you. The other area I'm going to focus on is business rules in myCalPERS classes, because that's where my team comes in, right? We work with the business rules team and we teach myCalPERS classes. And then we're going to showcase a little bit about our new tool, the myCalPERS reports, and showcase a little bit about that. So let's get into that. Next slide, please. So the Classes and Webinars for Employers webpage is brand new. It was actually just launched on May 1st. In fact, I believe you all are the first official group to be getting any such information on it. If you are subscribed to our employer bulletins, there's going to be communication going out about this webpage later this week. And for all new contact types entered into myCalPERS starting next month, they're going to be getting emails inviting them to this new webpage to see what educational opportunities are available to them. The webpage is organized by contact types. Now, a contact type is the role you're assigned when you initially are given access to myCalPERS for your agency. Your system access administrator gives you this assignment based on the work you're going to be doing. And it could be general, it could be enrollment, payroll, health, human resources, whatever, just to name a few. And those contact types are we're using to designate our communication process with you. Next slide, please. So let's show how you get to this new web page. It's found within the employer education webpage, which if you go to CalPERS website, select the employer link or a tab at the top, and then the employer education link at the bottom right-hand corner. That takes you to the new webpage. You could also use the search function as well. Next page. And here I'm zoomed in on this new section here, the classes and webinars section here. But above this, when you navigate to this page, you're going to see still the information for events that are coming up, and below you're going to see meetings that are coming up. But we've taken this long list that was previously on this web page of classes and webinars and condensed it into one little section with a link to the new web page. And to access this new web page, you just select that name of the CalPERS and webinars for employers link there on the under name on the blue on the left hand side, and that takes you to the new web page. So let's go ahead and do that. Next slide, please. And here's the new web page, right? Again, it's organized by contact type. There's going to be some information at the top of this page that explains a little bit more about how to use it. But bottom line is you want to find your contact type, like those payroll I was mentioning earlier. Here I have just general. Once you find your contact type, you select that type and expand the section. It's going to tell you what classes and webinars are recommended and in what order. Not all, but most of our contact types, we recommend that you take a business rules class first and then proceed with additional education, whether that's myCalPERS classes or other webinars pertinent to program areas that we have or benefits. And also you'll see that the format that the classes are offered in, as well as the guides or resources that are available to you that support that information. So let's move on to the next section here and talk about more business rules and myCalPERS classes, because that's where I come from. Others are going to be talking about the webinars and other program areas that you have access to. So next slide, please. Business rules and myCalPERS classes, they go hand in hand very well if you're needing to do both. And we recommend starting with business rules classes first. In most cases, that's what you need to do. If you're doing work within myCalPERS, you want to take those classes as well. The business rule classes are the why behind CalPERS. myCalPERS classes are the how. So think of it like driving. Business rules is driver's education, it's your classroom setting, and myCalPERS is the behind the wheel training. And again, we recommend taking those business rules classes first so you avoid traffic fines and tickets. These classes are also free of cost. There's no cost to them at all. They're great for a refresher. And let's dive in a little bit more and talk about the different resources we have as far as education goes for both of these classes here. Next slide. So we offer instructor-led and self-paced training options. Instructor-led classes are available virtually and in person. The in-person myCalPERS classes includes a hands-on practice option, and we've even rolled that out as an option within our virtual classes this year for myCalPERS classes. Self-paced classes are available anytime, allowing you to complete training at your own pace. These are meant to be a supplement to your learning from instructor-led classes, and you can find a full list of our classes available on our webpage. And then we have the resources, business rules, reference and health guides, and the myCalPERS student guides. We recommend you bookmark the web pages that are associated with each of those sections for ongoing education and reference material, especially with the student guides. We update those anywhere from 3 to 4 times a year. So those are constantly being enhanced as enhancements to myCalPERS rollout. Now, if you go and look up our class schedule and none of those schedules work for you, we can still help you. Next slide, please. We offer employer-sponsored training, or specials as we call them. And these are free and built around your schedule. We can host you at one of our regional offices or come to your site. Just email us to request one of these classes. And most recently, we've launched a brand new class called myCalPERS Reports. And we're receiving a lot of special requests for that. Why would that be? Next slide, please. Well, in March of this year, myCalPERS reports replace Cognos reports. And while there's a lot of reasons, as you can see here on the screen, a few differences between those two tools, but overall, myCalPERS reports was built by CalPERS and works faster with our data. Next slide, please. Accessing myCalPERS reports is the same. It hasn't changed. You're still going to log into myCalPERS and then select common tasks from the left side links and then select reports. Next slide. The home screen is going to show you your recent reports and shortcuts. And if you don't see what you need, then you want to select the Run Report tab. Next slide. Here, you would be able to search or browse all the reports available to you based on your role. Next slide. And reports that run in the background, they're going to display in the Generated Reports tab for 5 days. Now that's a quick 30-second overview of myCalPERS reports. So for more details, you want to register for an instructor-led myCalPERS reports class from the Education tab in myCalPERS. Next slide, please. So in review, start with classes and webinars for employers webpage. All the new contact types are going to receive notification about this new tool. Take a business rules class and additional classes. We have a full schedule. The full schedule for this calendar year is available on our webpage. Next year's schedule will be posted later this year, sometime in October or November. And then use myCalPERS reports training to build your skills. Next slide, please. This is our email. Please email our team if you have any questions related to business rules or myCalPERS functionality, or would like to request some special training for you and your team. Just please reach out. Next slide, please. And with that, are there any questions that are unanswered from the Q&A or somebody's thought of as I'm wrapping up here?
The QA looks clear.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
I'm seeing some applause.
Yeah, wonderful.
Well,
that's probably my team.
oh, oh, there you go. So, see, you're flooding in now. All right. Well, thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
All right. So next up is another presenter that probably needs no introduction, voted by Brad Hans and me as one of the top 5 school presenters all time CalPERS history. Tim Herbeck. I'm going to turn over to him, and he's going to talk to you guys all about ensuring timely and accurate retirement benefits. Tim, without further ado, please take over.
Thank you so much, Brad. This SEAC for me is kind of bittersweet because a lot of my longtime acquaintances and friends within the school community have either already retired, or some of them you have informed me that you're looking to retire in the very near future. And so it seems like my friend group has slowly dwindled the older I get. I'm still nowhere near retirement age, unfortunately, but it seems like those people I've established pretty positive relationships with since myCalPERS Go Live have now decided to venture on to better pastures and world adventures. So hopefully this presentation, for those of you who are looking to retire, will be very beneficial to all of you. And I'm looking forward to creating some new relationships after this is all done. So next slide, please. All right, so within this presentation is kind of my starting point in preparing for the employer forum. So please forgive me if it kind of goes a little sideways, but I do want to talk about retirement benefit topics. So why retirement benefits may be delayed. I'll discuss a little bit about certification of separation of employments. I know we already talked briefly about separation of employments, but I want to talk to you about how it impacts retirements. Reporting of unused sick leave. We recently had an unused sick leave audit for school employers. So I want to kind of go over some of the findings and also how to report unused sick leave properly. And then also some post-retirement adjustments, what creates adjustments and why we have to process them and some of the timelines. So next slide, please. All right, first, delayed retirement benefits. All of you know somebody or may know somebody or even yourself are looking to retire. And nobody wants to be that person where they retire, separate from employment, and don't get a retirement warrant from CalPERS for 60, 90, 120 days. It just makes living a little harder when you don't get paid for a benefit. So Here are some things that potentially can cause the delays. The first and foremost is errors in the member or dependent's name, date of birth, or address at time of enrollment. When we calculate your retirement, when we receive your application, we do verify that the member's name is correct. If they have any beneficiaries, that their dependents or survivors' names are correct. Day of birth is incredibly important for us because that's how we do our actuarial review of paid beneficiary benefits. So we have to have an accurate day of birth, as well as an address at time of enrollment, because we do send out correspondence and communication. I know some people who separate don't update their address, don't have day of birth on file. So we really ask you as the employer to ensure when you enroll people that you confirm their names, their day of birth are accurate, their address information is accurate, and as they continue employment with you, periodically possibly reviewing to see if their information has changed. Have you made those changes within myCalPERS? Other things that delay retirement, we do have the ability to retire people who have less than 5 years of total service credit, which is required for vesting for retirement to retire. For example, somebody who's a school employee part-time, they may have been working consistently over half time for the school for say 7, 8, 9 years. And so we do allow them to retire even though they don't have the necessary 5 years required for vesting, but we do require information from you as the employer. And a lot of times the member will tell us, hey, I am part of this part-time population. Can you please retire me? And we send out the forms, and the forms are just not, a high priority, and they're not returned to us timely. So that can delay a person's retirement because we rely on the information you provide to confirm that they are eligible for retirement. Reciprocal information when reciprocity is requested. This includes position title, their MOU and labor agreements. So when a member retires, and I'll use this example, they were maybe with CalPERS as a classified person for 2 or 3 years, then they became certificated and they wanted to go join STRS. Now they have established a compensation exchange with STRS. They work for STRS for 20 some years. They indicate, I'm retiring from STRS and PERS concurrently. And so STRS will send us back the compensation information that they have collected from you as an employer over the last 3 or 4 years. But the problem is unlike our myCalPERS system, the STRS system doesn't necessarily capture the types and categories of special compensation. They don't capture position titles and they don't store MOU and labor agreements. So in order for us to use any compensation whatsoever provided by STRS, we do heavily rely on your districts to provide us what was this person's last position title. What was the salary range that they are subject to? What is the labor agreement or MOU that justifies a special compensation category that STRS provided us as just as lump sum special compensation? And we're struggling right now a lot of times to get this information from school districts because they're the ones that really house it. And so that also delays retirements. And generally speaking, I'm not proud of it, but it happens. When somebody retires concurrently from STRS and their last was STRS, it takes us about 90 to 120 days to finish their retirement with CalPERS. And it's because the information sharing with STRS and also trying to obtain the position title MOU labor agreement from the district. So any assistance you can provide in working with the districts, or if you're a district administrator now in this presentation, just knowing that as soon as you get any kind of email from us, the sooner we can get that information to our compensation compliance team, the better, because that way we can calculate these benefits earlier and hopefully send these people on their merry way, enjoying retirement. Next slide, please. Other potential causes of delay are incorrect payroll record end dates. I know none of you on this call probably ever do this, but we do see it periodically where when you report payroll, the payroll record end date goes through the end of the month and a person's retirement date is in the beginning of the month. And so they're asking for us to, retire them, say June 13th. July comes in, you report payroll through June 30th. We cannot retire anybody who has compensation posted after their retirement dates. So it requires us to go through and actually verify and validate, is the compensation reported correct? Are the dates correct? Are they eligible for that retirement date? Do we need to correct it? We don't know. The other thing is delayed or unposted payroll transactions, especially retroactive salary adjustments. So when there are unposted payroll transactions that are sitting out there within myCalPERS, they may not get the final average compensation that they deserve because we're having to troll back to an earlier period of time of their employment because we don't have recent posted compensation. And then last is discrepancies requiring a compliance review. So we included new error messages within our calcs now that identify excessive service credit. What we're seeing a lot of the times is employers are reporting a monthly pay rate followed by an hourly pay rate. Sometimes there are multiple pay rates that we just can't understand. And so that creates greater than a month of service, or it creates averaging issues when we're trying to figure out exactly what the full-time monthly rate of pay is. Also, lump sum special compensation reporting. When we see zero special compensation reported for, say, 11 months, and all of a sudden this huge lump sum comes in of like $5,000, it has to go through review. And anytime we have excessive service credit, fluctuating pay rates, or lump sums, we kick those over to our compensation and compliance team. Then who has to review it and confirm, yes, the pay rates are accurate. No, the service credit's not accurate. No, the special compensation is not in compliance. That takes time, and so that also delays the retirement benefits. Next slide, please. So timely reporting of separation dates. This is very important because we need you to ensure that members receive all the entitled benefits, and we have the ability to, they have the ability to select or elect the desired retirement date. If you don't have a separation date on file, like I mentioned, then they could end employment with you maybe 10, 12, 13 months ago, and they put an application in. Well, they're not entitled to backdating their retirement when a separation or last posted compensation is greater than 9 months. So they're required now to have a retirement date the first day of the month the application is received. So we really heavily rely on employers to enter a separation date timely once you're made aware by your employee through the personnel office or human resource office that they are looking to retire. We need a separation date in there so we can confirm that they're entitled to the date that they selected. Also, if you don't enter a separation date, it could impact the ability to have unused sick leave calculated within the retirement benefits. If you have an improper separation date, especially when somebody may retire mid-December and you just don't separate them timely by doing this, in talking with some of the school employers, what I found out is that members are entitled to holiday pay. And so December 31st is a holiday. They want to retire maybe mid-December, but you don't separate them because you're paying out the holiday pay. So now you separate them effective January 1st or January 2nd. Because you separate them and now they have to retire on or after the separation date in January, the member has to wait another entire year before they're eligible for a COLA. And all of you, we know with the prices of everything going up right now, not being able to get a COLA increase for 2 years instead of just one full year could be detrimental to the member when they retire. So we really need to have some dialogue, and I push back on the county offices and the districts to communicate this with their people, especially if you know they're eligible to retire, is when do you anticipate retiring? If you want a retirement in December, then you got to tell us we are not compensating you. We're not paying you holiday pay. We're not paying you anything else after this date so that we can separate you effective December 30th, December 31st, and you can retire in December. Because if by any way we are forced to separate you effective January 1st, you're not going to be eligible for a COLA. For example, this year, if they retire December 31st of 2026, their first COLA is May 2028. If they retire January 1st, 2027, their first COLA is not until May of 2029. So you can see there's a difference of 2 years. Also, for those who have health, it could impact health benefits because you must retire within 120 days of your separation date in order to receive continuation of health benefits. So this is a lot of information regarding a separation date that may impact members' ability to retire, especially for these June retirements. We have a lot of, this is our second busiest period of time other than December state. June, July is the busiest time for all school retirements. I think last year we processed approximately 5,000 plus retirement applications just for June alone. Majority of those are all school members. And so what we found is we have a separation date of, say, June 12th. We have a monthly pay rate of $5,000. We see $5,000 of earnings and a separation date of June 12th. How is it possible they earn a full month of earnings when they only work 2 weeks? And so those set off triggers, and we have to contact you, and you're like, well, we get equal installments, we pay them equally. Well, we can't pay a benefit while you are also paying them compensation for time worked. So now we're forced to change the retirement date to July 1st, and they have to pay back 2 weeks of benefits. And the members get very upset when we tell them, sorry, you're not entitled to 2 weeks of benefits. We need to pay that back. Generally, we don't find out about this until the end of July when you go to post July's payroll, because that's your kind of first idea of, oh, they retired. I can't post payroll after retirement date. So either now we're going to finagle the payroll record end date to mirror the retirement date and SEP them, or we have to call CalPERS and like, no, we are paying them through June. You need to change the retirement date to July 1st. By that time, the member already received their warrant and they're having to pay us back. So any of these issues can result in overpaid benefits due to unlawful employment. Last but not least, if you fail to separate a person timely, we will send you out a notice at day 60 and day 90. And if we still don't have a separation date in the system by the district for any of the appointments, other than a retired new appointment, we will hold their benefits. We can't continue paying benefits if we believe at all there's a chance that they are still actively working, either in a part-time, overtime, non-contributory time. If there's any indication whatsoever this member may still be working because we don't have a separation date, we're going to hold their checks at 120 days. So it is very important that members communicate with their employers their desire to retire. Employers communicate and prep their members, especially when you know there's an influx of June retirements. Our contact center, I know one of the things and challenges that I've heard from other county offices is that, well, when we have our employees go into the contact center, the regional office, they're saying go ahead and retire June 5th, but they don't know all the circumstances in regards to how we, as a school or county office, are reporting compensation. So I have asked that our regional offices no longer advise members to select a retirement date mid-June. Instead, we are now pushing members to say, if you believe your last day, maybe the school year ends on June 6th, you might be eligible for a June 7th retirement, but you really need to go back to your employer and ask them, how do you anticipate reporting compensation? How do you anticipate reporting my separation? Because if you are not in sync with your employer, then you are resulting in a possible overpayment of benefits. But we can only do so much through education and information in our time when they go to counseling. But we do still heavily rely on you as an employer to also maybe hold internal sessions, seminars for anybody who's like 55 and above to say, here are some things that you need to be cognizant of. Next slide, please. So no separation date reported time, separation date entered for only one active appointment, and then incorrect separation dates reported CalPERS. Kind of briefly went over this in my long spiel on the last slide, but we do want to reference Circular Letter 200-015-16 for guidance on reporting separation dates to myCalPERS. Again, a separation date and how you report compensation is critical to be entered accurately and timely. And I have to say this, I know some people disagree. It is you as the employer to determine the correct separation date. You should not be reliant on CalPERS sending you that retirement acknowledgement letter, notifying you of retirement date, and use that date as a day of separation. Because we don't know when the person may have last been paid with you. Could have been 3, 4, 5 months ago, 10 months ago, 2 years ago. If you separate them solely because of that letter equal to our retirement date, it creates a whole lot of issues. So we do push that you must determine what it is and report that to the board. So then all our internal business rules, backdated retirements, unused sick leave, health benefits follow suit. It should never be the reverse, where you depend on us to tell you when to separate your members. Next slide, please. All right, reporting of unused sick leave. There was a recent audit over the last year regarding Government Code Section 20963.5, which is how can we use unused sick leave at time of retirement to improve a member's retirement. So first, the retirement date must be within 4 months, 120 days of separation. Only report hours, days accrued during the normal course of work. That means you cannot use COVID hours, you cannot use overtime hours, no gifted hours, but only report hours accrued during the normal course of work. And sick leave can be transferred between school employers. This question always comes up every time I do it. I must refer you as a school, county office, or district back to the ed codes that define how to transfer and manage work or unused sick leave when it goes from a district to a district, a county to a county, or a community college to a community college district, any combination of those three. So the ed codes are clearly spell out the responsibility of a school employer to monitor, track, and transfer unused sick leave between different type of school employers. Next slide, please. So requirements for reporting unused sick leave must be defined in your employer MOU labor agreement. And when I say that, I mean it has to actually spell out, and I've seen very good contracts that state you will earn 8 hours of unused sick leave per month as a full-time employee, which will be converted at time or which will be reported at time of separation to CalPERS for the potential use of your retirement benefit. It says 8 hours per month full-time, and then maybe has additional language for part-time people. So it cannot include unused sick leave hours that are cashed out by an employee. I don't know very many schools that allow them to cash out unused sick leave. You can cash out vacation, annual leave balances, but generally they don't. But if you do allow them to cash out unused sick leave, then that cannot be reported if they cash it out. It cannot include other leave credits, like I mentioned, annual leave, vacation, COVID. It has to be certified by the employer. And what I mean by that is when you actually enter the separation date in myCalPERS, it'll ask you if you want to include unused sick leave. You say yes, and then you can have the option of either hours or days, and then you enter it, and that's your certification by the employer that you're reporting unused sick leave. Unused sick leave excluded from a retirement calculation, so we'll exclude it when the employer fails to report it timely. The separation date is more than 120 days from the retirement date, or it's not accrual clearly or defined in a labor agreement. At the time I created this slide, I didn't have all the information, so I do want to share some of the findings from our audit. The most common mistakes also were employers just did not report any unused sick leave at time of retirement, and we went back into the personnel records. We found that they were entitled to it. There was no language for how you accrue in your written labor agreement, how you prorate sick leave, how you report it at time of separation. Employers reported unused sick leave that did not agree with how the amount that's in your personnel. So maybe you reported 700 hours, but in your personnel form it only said 500 hours. Incorrectly reported did not report permanent separation dates. So we found a lot of times a member retired, and then there was no reported compensation. Like I mentioned, maybe January was the last posted payroll date reported. There's no additional unposted payroll transactions. There's nothing to indicate the member performed services or was compensated for services rendered after January. They elect a July retirement date. And so then you report a separation date or there is no separation date. So that was a finding. So some of these are just things that are non-compliance and we'll have to address in the audit, but I wanted to share some of those with you. And then also just the conversion. You know, if you are not reporting the days in myCalPERS, but you're trying to convert it, just remember, convert days by 8 hours, or if you're going to go hours to days, the total number of hours divided by 8 gives you the number of days. So for school, full-time employment's 40 hours a week. That's 8 hours. 8 hours is required for your conversion between an hourly or a daily reporting. Next slide, please. So again, divide hours by 8 to determine. And then some people always ask, well, what is the actual formula for unused sick leave? So each day, 8-hour day of unused sick leave equals 0.004 years of service credit. 1 year of service credit added is if you have 250 days or 2,000 hours. So just that's kind of how we derive a year of service credit is once you have 2,000 hours of unused sick leave or 250 days, you receive 1 year service credit. There is no cap, there is no max. We do have some internal controls in place that identify, for example, if you have only 10 years of service with us, but you're reporting 4,000 hours of unused sick leave, that doesn't math very well. And so we may reach out to you for additional information. Was any of this ever transferred? How was it transferred? Where do they earn this? Was it greater than 8 in your MOU? Where's your MOU? So we do have controls in place when the thresholds are met, but there is no maximum amount of hours or days you can have. Now, that would probably make somebody have to work for about 30 or 40 years in order to get to about 3,000, 4,000 hours. Generally, we see about 2,000 hours or less when we do our retirements. And then, as always, you guys like circular letters, so please refer to circular letter 200-033-22, which we published back in 2022 as part of an audit requirement that clearly spells out all the information I just shared. Next slide, please. All right, post-retirement adjustments. We internally get a lot of questions regarding, I created an estimate. Now all of a sudden I got my first payment letter. It's nowhere near my estimate. Why is that? The biggest reason is that most people don't have their final payroll reported until 30 days after their retirement date. So we always have this adjustment process that's once the last payroll posted, or employers don't separate them for 30 to 60 days once the separation date's entered. We have about 120 days to do a post-retirement adjustment. It's very, very common. And then we will notify you with an adjustment letter and we pay you the difference going back to your retirement date. So the retirement date, some of the adjustments that occur that may impact a member's benefits are when a retirement date is equal or prior to the last posted payroll record end date. Generally speaking, this doesn't happen a lot of times with schools. This is more of a public agency thing where they actually post payroll prior to a member's retirement date. But we do see this sometimes where you have posted June's payroll already, and then they come back in June and August and try to report a retirement date that's prior to the last posted payroll record end date. It does delay our ability to calculate them timely. Also, if we have to change anything, it creates overpayments. Payroll corrections after retirement. Maybe you got approved for a retro salary adjustment, a merit increase back to July of last year. So those delays potentially could increase a member's retirement. Once they're posted, we'll do the adjustments. Unused sick leave not reported timely or accurately. Kind of already went over that, especially when you depend on our letters to notify you of the retirement date and then enter a SEP date equal to it, even though payroll or the person hasn't been actively working for more than 9 months or 120 days, sorry. Or a separation date is just missing or incorrect. Going back to the missing separation date, the letters we send out, when they are actually retired, we send out both the employer and a member that they have a missing separation date. The letters are again sent out at 60 and 120 days post-retirement. And as I mentioned before, retirement warrants will be held after 120 days if you as an employer fail to separate them timely. So there's a lot of things that can create an adjustment. We have a dedicated team that works really diligently with you. I do request that, and I know some of my acquaintances that I've had relationships over the years generally send me a list of CIDs for members who have elected a retirement date that doesn't correspond with how you're posting compensation. And so instead of doing individual ones, we do ask that you just kind of notify us, hey, Tim, we're trying to post payroll. We are doing equalized payments through the end of June. They're not eligible for an earlier retirement date. So please, can you change the retirement date so we can post payroll? So if you are one of those employers, you can always send me an email, my team, and then I'll have my team work with the members. We do ask, though, that prior to our making these adjustments, that there has been some communication with you and your members that says you're not eligible for this. At the same time, I know there's some compliance requirements in regards to how you report equalized payments, especially for those who don't perform services after like the 5th or 6th of the month. And so we have to look at that as well to see, well, are they truly entitled compensation beyond the last day work, last day services performed? And should we actually be anticipating payroll being reported through the end of the month versus allowing them to collect a retirement date earlier and having you adjust payroll so that they can get that earlier retirement? As a little asterisk, a note for those of you who are potentially looking to retire, FYI, when we look at school member retirements, we do a 1 year final compensation review. So that's 12 consecutive months. So anybody who received a merit increase in July, you probably want to hold off on your retirement date until July 1st to ensure that we can use that full higher pay rate all the way through June, so July to June, to give you the highest final average compensation calculation. Because if you retire any earlier, we will either have to prorate June with the June of the prior year, or we may have to use the lower pay rates for the months in order to complete our 12-month review. So some things to think about when you're selecting retirement date is, do I want my highest FAC or final average compensation? Do I want the newest pay rates that I got merit increases for? Do I want to get a full month? What's my birthday? And then especially December, right? I'm not going to probably do this SEAC meeting prior to December. I'll do the Ed Forum. But for those of you here, knowing that if you force or a member chooses to get paid holiday pay for December 31st or December 30th, and you require that they separate January 1st, it is a detriment not only for the first year COLA, but all compounded COLAs after that. So they are going to get a lot less in retirement just by the virtue of having to change a retirement day by 1 day. So December retirements are even more critical than June, July retirements. Next slide, please. So here are some examples I'm talking about that are issues that we found. Payroll versus separation date discrepancies. So payroll record end date. So here we have a payroll record end date of April 1st through April 30th, a retirement date of June 6th, but we have a separation date of 7/1. We don't understand why there's a separation date of 7/1 when last payroll was reported in April. We generally verify payroll was posted, and then what we indicated was the district indicated separation date was last day of school year, or was the end of the school contract. So even though they quit working in April, the separation date of 7/1, they just did it. It's the last day of school year contract. Well, that's not an accurate separation date. It should be the day after last day paid or services rendered. Half month reporting and earnings. So we see 5/1 to 5/14. The member has a retirement date of 5/15. That's great. Retirement date after last day paid. But the school reported separation date of 8/15/2025. Again, in this example, when I contacted the school district, what they indicated was August 15th is the day we reported to the board that they're not expected to return for the next school year. So because it's the day reported to the board, that's the day we do our separation dates. Again, not compliant. Separation date truly should have been 5/15, allowing the member to retire effective 5/15. And then the last example I have is your full month of earnings. So the payroll was reported 6/1 to 6/6. This is an example where it's like a monthly rate of pay of $5,000. We see $5,000 of earnings. We see member contributions reported for the $5,000 earnings. The member elects a 6/7 retirement date, which in theory is okay because it's after last day paid, but the school reports a separation date of 7/1. Generally, this happens when we are notified by schools that they're equalizing payments. And so we have to adjust the retirement date. And here's the example of where we would have an overpayment situation. Next slide, please. So at that time, that kind of concludes my presentation. I don't know if I went over, probably did. I always go over. But I'll open it up for questions that anybody may have. I also have Bobby Curtright, who is my manager one. He also attends the Ed Forums with me, who hopefully has been answering some questions and can help me answer any of the adjustment questions.
You have any live questions? There's a couple in the QA chat. I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer them right here, but let's take a shot, Tim, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So this one's from Teresa Cooney. When we separated in CalPERS before 2 months of their retirement, a notification went out and confused folks as it was too early. We can now separate early, and that is fine. We had been told to wait until 6 days before the retirement date.
Um, this is probably more a question on your side of the house in regards to appointment separations. I believe you could be able to report a separation date within 60 days of the member's preferred retirement date. It may send out some communication to the member, but it should not stop payroll from posting. The other thing is that when a member applies for retirement, they get an acknowledgement letter, and within that acknowledgement letter, there is a snippet that says, "You are actively employed. We have an active appointment. Please notify your employer of separation date." So that's caused some confusions. It's more of a FYI. We still show you active. So I don't know by actually when you are made aware in advance their retirement date, and if you enter it within 60 days, if that helps remove that snippet, members can apply for retirement within 120 days. But in regards to the actual notification or business rules about separating people prior to their actual last day paid, um, I don't know what the actual issues are
We'll
on
we'll
appointment or payrolls.
we'll have the team go in there and type up an answer for that one. I believe you're right that you can do a permanent set before the actual date. Just keep in mind if any payroll needs to be posted after that date, then it's going to air out because that perm step's going to block it. But I'll have the team type up an answer for that QA. We have time for one more, and then we're going to move on to the next topic. So, one of my districts has an employee who has an end date in PERS of 2015. Since 2015, the employee has been working in a certificated position. The employee is now retiring. Can we report the unused sick leave that is earned as a classified employee, even though she's separated from service in 2015?
So in this case, if they separate from service in 2015, you can report the unused sick leave, but it will not be included in the member's retirement because the separation date from employment must be within 120 days of the retirement date.
Okay, that's right.
And so if if you have a separation date in 2015 and maybe they went to STRS, then that would not be something that's reportable nor used in the retirement calc. And kind of to that also, I saw Sylvia's question. Only unused sick leave during qualified PERS membership can be reported. So if it's a non-member service, maybe they're not a member yet, or they're in an overtime position, anything that's not a member is not reportable. So they cannot, if they earn unused sick leave during the course of non-PERS membership time, that's not reportable to CalPERS.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Tim. We're going to move on to the next subject now, and I'm going to turn it over to Annie Nguyen, and he's going to be talking to us a little bit about golden handshakes. Andy, go ahead, take it away.
Thank you, Brad. Good morning. My name is Andy Nguyen, CalPERS team members. I'm here today representing the pension contract and pre-funding program areas to present some of the non-compliance observations CalPERS has identified while working with the school districts that have offered a 2 years additional service credit to their members. We would also like to take this opportunity to remind school district about the required documents CalPERS needs in order to proceed with the implementation of the Golden Handshake amendments. Next slide, please. The California Government Code Section 20904 allows school employers to offer an incentive for early retirement for their employees by providing this additional 2-year service credit. However, the main purpose of this government code is for the school district to achieve cost savings and by reducing staff. And it's also important that the school district has to demonstrate there's an impending curtailment in staffing or there's a cost savings for the group of retirees during the window periods. So that's why the school district offer these benefits to their members. And then another two other key things that we would need the school to be aware of is the benefit must be offered to all eligible school members, and the member must be employed and retired within the designated periods. Just like Aiden's and team has mentioned in the earlier presentations about the importance of the separation date and the retirement date, it's very important that you have those dates report to CalPERS properly, because some of the member may or may not eligible for this golden handshake if you don't have a proper separation date on the system or the retirement date. Another key thing that I want the school to remember is when we're talking about all eligible school members, that means your employees meet the minimum retirement age, and they have minimum service with CalPERS. So, for example, if you have a school employees who work for another school district for 10 years and went to work for your school district for only 2 years, and then you offer the golden handshake, that employee is eligible for the golden handshake with your school district. And another things that we see is for CalPERS, the requirement is you only need to have 5 years of service with CalPERS to eligible for the golden handshake. So regardless if some of the school district in the MOU, they state that they need to have 15 years of service with the district to be eligible for this golden handshake. It doesn't matter. The state law would trump the MOU. So you just have to remember, we have identified a lot of employers did not offer the golden handshake to the employees because they don't have the 15 years according to your MOU. But the state law does allow them to receive this golden handshake. Next slide, please. Another things that we has noticed is the timing of the certifications and the resolutions that been adopted by the county COE office, because CalPERS have a contract with the COE, so any resolutions or certifications that need to be approved and adopted by the county superintendents of schools, not by the school district. So it's very important that the school district, when you intend to offer the golden handshake, you have to coordinate with the COE to make sure that the COE have your items on the board agenda items timely, and it must be before the window periods open. So those are the very important documentations that we see is lacking from the school district when they provide to us. A lot of time, the COEs has adopted the resolutions after the open of the window period. So, we recommend and advise the school district to make sure that you work with the COE for all the timing before you open up that window period for your employees. And then another things will be, once the window period closed, the school district will provide us the list of eligible retirees. We will review those, and we may have a lot of questions about who is eligible and who is not supposed to be eligible for the benefits. Once we process the golden handshakes, the school district have 5 years to pay off that cost. So you can either pay off in full payment or 3 to 5 years. Next slide, please. And these are some of the examples that we see when the school offered the golden handshake, but did not really have a proper documentation to support the reason, the condition why they can offer this window period. Is because either they don't really have a proper cost analysis, cost saving for those group of retirees, or they don't have a proper documentation to support that curtailment that the school do have a layoff, and they offer this golden handshake to those retirees. So one of those things that we have enhanced in our process is we will work with the school district and ask them to provide us additional documents like board agenda items, the reason that you bring this item to your board, and you have to have some kind of analysis when you provide those items to your board, so we can have a better understanding why that you decide to offer this golden handshake to your employees. And again, the ineligible employees is a lot of time is because either they don't have a right separation date in the system or the retirement date in the system. So we will work really closely with the school to make sure that if you separate the members timely, because sometimes if you have a member separated before the window period, but the intention is for them to receive a golden handshake, we may have to go back and make an adjustment. Then the school will have to pay for that cost in the subsequent years. Next slide, please. Yeah, so as like what I just said earlier, it's very important that the school districts separate their members timely, and so we do not miss any of these ineligible members that we might have to go back and readjust the calculations. And then the certifications, make sure that you have it adopted by the COEs prior to the window period. Next slide, please. That's the end of my presentations. This is our contact information that you can email us if you have any questions, or you can go to our website for any additional information. That's conclude my presentations. I'm here to happy to answer any questions.
I don't see any in the Q&A. Any live questions? Nope, looks like we're good. Well, thanks, Andy. Appreciate
Thanks,
you.
Brad.
Yep. All right, now I'm going to pass it over to myself. And I'm going to talk to you about something I've talked about many times before, my CalPERS registration project. So, last year, CalPERS was doing a big push to get more members signed up for their own myCalPERS page. They can go in there, they can run estimates, they can look at their service credit, they can request training, they can do a whole array of different things that, make them more educated and up to date with their CalPERS accounts, which is super important. Also, it adds another layer of security to their account. There's a lot of nefarious people out there trying to hack and steal people's information. The more people registered for their myCalPERS page, the better off they are for security reasons as well. So, last year we talked to many schools and other employers as well about the idea of doing auto enrollments into myCalPERS. For instance, if someone becomes a new employee, once they're enrolled through membership, it would automatically set up their account. And we were playing around with some ideas like shooting them off a temporary password, and they can go in there and set their account up. And if they didn't, it would just lock their account and they can have it unlocked later. There was a lot of good feedback on that, and it seems like employers, for the most part, are on board with that approach. However, before we can even get to that stage, there's a couple of things that we're going to need to require from employers at the time of enrollment before we can approach that. And that is, we would need to require both the member's cell phone number and their email. That way we can send them secure information so they can unlock their account. Now, I know that is extra burden on the employers. So what we're going to do over the next year is we're going to set up some more focus groups or meetings like this to talk it through with employers to see what you're capable of, what your concerns would be with that, and if it sounds like a good idea to you. So just kind of priming the pump, as they say. They let you guys know that we'll be doing some outreach on that. And we'll probably have a booth set up at the Ed Forum this year. So if you're at the Ed Forum, please drop by and say hi and let me know if you're interested in participating in one of those focus groups. And then one last thing, it's not really related to this project, but it's something that I told my fellow division chiefs here at EAMD that are in CalPERS in general, that I'd ask from the employers is that at the time of separation, if you could just verify that the member's address is accurate on the system. What we're finding is when someone separates, sometimes the address isn't correct. And then we try to notify the member of something like their options of separation or they have a payment due, whatever the issue might be, is we're getting a lot of return mail. We have some systems in place now to help us mitigate that issue, but if someone goes to separate, please do your best to ensure that their address is up to date. I know once they leave and they move, it's out of your hands, and I can appreciate that. But if you could just ask that question at the time of separation, we at CalPERS would greatly appreciate that. Okay, so oh, and I didn't go to this slide. If you're interested in having this slide Of course, it will be in the SEAC presentation that's available online, but you can also send an email to our ERT mailbox and we can send you this attachment. It's something that you might want to, until we can do auto enrollments, you might want to include in your new employee packages. It's a quick way for a member to just scan that QR code and it will take them right to the registration page. So it makes it a little easier for them to register. And we're getting a lot of good feedback on this. So these low-tech solutions, even though it's somewhat high-tech, seem to be preferable to a lot of people nowadays. Okay, so we're going to move on to the final section of this presentation, which is going to be the roundtable, which is where you guys can ask any of your free-form questions, as I like to call it, the Stump the Chump hour. But before we do that, I know that Ken Noss wanted to take a few moments to speak to you guys about our recent circular letter that we just sent out. I think it was yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So Ken, are you still out there somewhere?
Of
Oh, there
course,
he is.
I'm always out there. Yeah, thanks for looping me in, Brad. The last SEAC, we talked about vacation pay, specifically vacation pay that is reportable and not reportable to CalPERS for pension calculation purposes. We got a lot of great feedback. I know that I had promised that circular letter a little bit earlier. We had an extensive internal process that we went through, and it took a little bit longer than we thought. However, I wanted to let all of you know, because many people have reached out about this, the circular letter on vacation pay did post to the circular letter webpage in myCalPERS yesterday morning. And so that is available and ready for all of you to download. And yeah, I was going to just go into a reminder that, starting July 1st, 2026, CalPERS is really going to be looking at, the compliance, looking for school employers to be compliant with those practices beginning July 1st, 2026, and then letting you guys know that the circular letter would be posted soon. However, as stated, it is now out. So you can all reference that, and thank you very much for your patience on it.
Yes, thank you. We just wanted to be very thoughtful about that circular letter, give you the examples that can work and the ones that don't work. So appreciate your patience on that as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and open it up for some roundtable questions. And no, I'm not talking about pizza. Every time I say roundtable, I want a pepperoni pizza. But if you guys have any questions that we didn't go over today, looks like we have Sarah Templeton who has a question. Can we unmute her or can she unmute herself? Okay. Go ahead, Sarah.
I believe that was an accident, but my question was already answered.
Oh, okay. I love your dog picture.
Thank you.
Cute dog.
That tells you he was full-time.
All right. Any other questions? We also have with us Heather Porter from EMD, and Diane Cooper is out there too as well. So, I always like to say that that they're the brains and I'm the looks of the operation, and they always prove that right. I appreciate the one laugh that I got. Okay, well, if there are no questions, you know that we're always here for you at CalPERS. We have our ERT line and the ERT mailbox. We have the SEAC mailbox. We have our MOU review mailbox, which, by the way, just a plug for Ken and his team, that you can upload your MOU and pay schedule reviews on through the system now. And there's a circular that tells you how to do that as well. We have the working after retirement mailbox. I'm sure you have a lot of our phone numbers and email addresses. So, we're always here for you. We want to help you best we can. So feel free to reach out anytime. Oh, and then Tim also provided his own email address as well. tim.herback@calpers.ca.gov. He's your benefits man. Okay, without any further ado, have a CalPerific day, and we'll see you again in August for the Education Day. Looking forward to it, and until then, see you next time. Bye now.